boys and girls, this is for Chapter 11, Lesson 2, using our tools like a ruler and a yardstick. So today I'm going to show you that we can use a ruler to measure things as well as a different tool, which is called a yardstick. A yardstick is much longer than a ruler. So I'm going to start today by showing you that the different measurements are equal to other measurements. For example, 12 inches on our ruler has another name. 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. So I'm underlining that with the ruler. 12 inches, I can also call this a foot. So if something is equal to exactly 12 inches, I could say that is 12 inches long or that is 1 foot long. So if I have something that is equal to 24 inches, that would be equal to 2 feet. 36 inches is equal to 3 feet, because that's 12 plus 12 is 24, plus 12 more is 36. So 3 lengths of this ruler is equal to 3 feet. So 1 ruler is 1 foot, then 2 rulers will be 2 feet long or 3 feet long. Now, when we get to measuring in feet, it must be exactly 12 inches. If something is 3 feet long, we can also say it's equal to 1 yard. Now, then we can go backwards. This is something I would have had up on the board for us to use. Okay, 3 feet, I'll show you up here on my poster here, 3 feet is equal to 36 inches. So if I show you the end of my yardstick, it's 36 inches. Now I'll back up a little bit. It goes all the way from 0 at the edge of this ruler up to 36 inches. Now, this is called a yardstick, much different and longer than a ruler. Now, it has the same measurements. It's measuring in inches. If I had something small, I could also use a yardstick, but what I want you to practice is picking the right tool. So if something is equal to 1 foot or less, or 12 inches or less, the ruler would be a good choice to use. If something is longer than a ruler or longer than 12 inches, then maybe a yardstick is a good tool to pick to measure. So when you do your lesson today, you're going to see that some of the objects that they want you to measure would be good with our ruler tool, and other objects would be better if we measured them with a yardstick. Now, if you do not have a yardstick, I did send one in the email that you can cut and paste together to get up to that 36 inches or 3 feet in length. If you do not have a yardstick or a printer, that's fine too. You will just have to use the ruler and add up to something longer than 12 inches. So let me show you if I do not have a yardstick and I only wanted to use a ruler because that's what I had handy, when we are measuring something, okay, and I'm going to get our math book. When I am measuring something, I want to make sure that I am lining up my ruler in the correct location. Remember, it's always at the end. We don't start anywhere in the middle. And I can see that this is about 9 inches. Okay, if I were measuring something longer than my ruler, I will need to hold my place and then continue measuring to add it up. So I have a string here. When I am measuring this, okay, so now I know that this piece is 1 foot long. Now, I'm going to hold my finger here where I leave off, and then I'm going to bring my ruler to that same spot to continue measuring. Okay, so I hold my place on the string so that I know that this piece that I already measured is 12 inches. And now since I held my spot, the rest of the string, now I have 24 inches. So I'm going to hold it right here, move the ruler, and if I were to add another foot, I keep my place. And now I can add another 12 inches or another foot. So far I have 3 feet of string, or that is also equal to 36 inches. And now I'm going to show you, using my yardstick, that 36 inches is equal to 1 yard. So here's my same string. I kept holding my place. So when I measured this, I could have just used my yardstick and I wouldn't have had to move my ruler 2 times. Okay, so if I see something that is longer than 12 inches, it might be a good idea to go get a different tool or a yardstick. Okay, I'm going to just pick a random spot right here. Okay, now this is how much string I want to measure from this hand to this hand. Now, just by looking at it, I think it's going to be longer than a ruler. So I think instead I'm going to go use my yardstick. Okay, so I'll hold up my yardstick. I look for the edge here with the number 1. And it looks like I was right. It is longer than 12 inches, so I'm glad I picked the yardstick. And I'll bring this closer for you to see that this is equal to 20 inches. 20 inches on my yardstick. Now, if I were to forget where my yardstick was, or maybe I already brought it to school and I don't have it with me at my house, I could measure this same piece. I haven't moved my hands yet. I could measure this same piece of ribbon with my ruler. I just have to move my ruler. So I lined up my string at this side. Then I need to hold my place where the 12 inches is. Okay, so that's where it gets tricky. All right, so let me hold my place at 12 inches, but I don't want to lose my 20-inch spot. Okay, so here I am at 12 inches. Now, I'm going to move my ruler, move my string down here. So this was 12 that's hanging down, and now I have to add the rest. So 12 plus 8 is 20. So 20 inches. I'm going to get the same answer whether I have to use my ruler or a yardstick, but for this case, the yardstick would be a better option to use for measuring. So when you're in your book today doing your lesson, it is going to ask you to measure things such as a desk. Okay, well, we're not at school, so you could measure maybe your desk in your bedroom, a chair, a bookshelf, a poster. All of those things are larger than a ruler. Okay, so make sure you have your yardstick. Tomorrow's work, you will have to measure something like a book. Now, a book most likely is not going to be bigger than 12 inches, most likely. So you could use a ruler, okay? And that's where you'll have to decide which tool is better to use for which objects. Okay, and the last thing I want to review for lesson 2 are the measurements. So 12 inches is equal to 1 foot, okay? And if you can remember that this is 12 inches long, what I like to remember is if I just turn it this way, there's a 1. So 12 inches on my ruler is equal to 1 foot. So if I were to measure something 12 inches long, I could say, oh, that's 1 foot long. Your book is going to ask you to estimate how many feet, so how many ruler length. lengths. Then, some of them, which are larger objects, are going to ask you to measure how many yards. So that would be how many yardsticks long. So try to find some objects in your house that are bigger, like a large desk. Maybe your parents have a big table that you could measure in yards. You're going to estimate how many yards something is. So pay attention to the labels on your page. Okay, and I'm going to hold up the book really quick because some of the good information is here. It shows you measuring a filing cabinet would be the length of 3 rulers or 1 yardstick. So I can measure it both ways. It's just probably the yardstick would be a better option. Now, pay attention to your labels. This child desk, okay, like you have in the classroom, wants you to measure how many feet. Okay, we're always talking about labels and make sure your math pages are labeled. This large desk is asking about how many yards. Okay, so there is a difference. Inches, 1 foot. This does have inches on it, but this is equal to 1 yard. Okay, good luck.